Okay, so we move on to our fifth speaker of this evening. I'm sure we've all heard of AB InBev, the world's largest brewing company. But what we maybe don't know is that all of their research and development is being done here in Belgium by a true Antwerpian. He has been shifting from beer brewing to researching and creating protein shakes based on fermentation. So please welcome on stage David de Schutter.
Good evening, Antwerpen. So it's great to be here. I'm actually from Antwerp, so lived here for 18 years. So I'm David de Schutter. I'm a Global Vice President of Innovation and Technology Development for AB InBev, and it's a pleasure to be here and talk a bit more about what the future can hold. So I want you to reimagine what a beer company can do. Because we are producing beer, and AB InBev is the world's largest brewer. Born in Belgium, is brewing a lot of beer in Belgium, but we're also innovating in Belgium. So the global R&D center of AB InBev is also based in Belgium, in Leuven, and there's a lot of great things happening. So if you look at AB InBev, the footprint of AB InBev is massive. So we have more than 200 breweries worldwide. We are serving more than 2 billion consumers. We have about 105 nationalities in our team, 169,000 people working at AB InBev. We have more than 500 brands, and we are working with 6 million customers worldwide. So you can imagine our footprint is massive. We're not only brewing beer, we're also making glass bottles. We're making cans. We're malting our own malts. And that's really what AB InBev is. So you see only in Belgium 2% of the entire AB InBev business. So just talking about brewing beer is the oldest biotechnology in the world. So the first settlements were started first brewing beer before they started making bread. And that's actually been helping civilization to develop, to learn how to cultivate, and to make sure that something from grains ended up in something that could deliver nutritional value. And if you make the comparison with what biotech is today, biotech needs fermentation technology. So if you modify something, if you look at vaccine development, they are based on fermentation. And to be really cost effective, they also need a global supply chain. So you need to source sugars or other agricultural crops, and you need to be able to make it in a very large quantity. And at that side, in the end, that's basically what we do with brewing as well. So in brewing, we have the largest amount of fermentation capacity in the world. So we have the most vessels in the world. We have 25% of the global beer market. And we are working in about 50 countries. So our global supply chain is everywhere. So we need to source malt from Argentina, from China, from US. In Europe as well, we're sourcing it from everywhere. So we do have a global supply chain. And for making biotech successful, you also need a global supply chain. So as a largest fermenter, we can also tackle the biggest food problems in the world as well, because we will have them. And if you look at the demographic evolution, so the humanity is growing. We're still growing in amount of people. So I don't know, I lost count. We're probably 8 billion people today. And it will grow more. And the nutritional demand of humanity is still growing. So we need about 745 million tons of protein products by 2030. And to supplement that to the world, we'll also need to have about 31 million tons of alternative proteins. And today, only 0.12 million tons is fermented, but we will need 60 million tons because you cannot source all that plant-based protein today, and we will not be able to do that in the future. So we will need to make sure that we grow cattle, that we produce plant-based protein, but we also will need to be able to supplement that with fermentation-based protein. And that is really the future. So what we are doing at AB InBev is reimagining what a beer company can do. So you can see that our core business is beer. We have here on tap Stella and Carmelite, great beers, but this is our core business, but there is much more that we can do. We're also working on Beyond Beer. So there are a lot of products and drinks that you can have, cocktail-based drinks that you can also can enjoy. But more of that is that we are such a large company that we have an ecosystem on our own, and we are an ecosystem on our own, and we can monetize that ecosystem. So one side is a digital commerce, but on the other side, we can use our expertise to become a biotech provider and to scale biotech, because that's going to be the future. So just imagine a world where you can have the eggs of 300,000 chickens in one tank. Imagine. How big should your farm be just in one tank? That's what we can do. Imagine the same, but then having 5,000 cows in one fermenter, one big tank. This is also what biotech could do. And how can you do that is by applying precision fermentation at scale. And what is precision fermentation exactly? So there are bacteria, fungi, or yeasts, and you can reprogram them, and making sure that instead of alcohol or anything else, they can start making proteins, and exactly the proteins that you find in animals. And if you feed them together in a tank, and you use some nutrients like spent yeast and sugars, you can make anything. So we've already proven that we can make heme proteins for Beyond Meat protein burgers, milk proteins, egg proteins, collagen proteins, vegetable oils, any product that normally should be extracted from a very rare plant in the world. This is actually what can be produced by microbes. It can be bacteria, can be fungi, can be yeast, but it doesn't matter. But if you do that correctly, and if you do it well, all of that can be produced in just tanks. And if just the example that I gave, if you look at proteins from eggs, you need 300,000 hens to have the same production as one fermentation tank. You need 5,000 cows to have the same production of milk protein as we can have in one fermentation tank. So imagine the possibilities when you're doing precision fermentation at scale. Moreover, it's more sustainable, because the land use is 19 times less than animal production. And the carbon emissions is also 3 times less than if you would grow cattle or you would grow a farm with a lot of chicken. So imagine those possibilities. And so we are putting this in action. So it's not just a dream. So we're doing this already. And at this moment, we have in GTEC, which is our global R&D center, we have a facility that is producing those proteins from eggs and from milk. And we're doing it with an enormous purity already at small scale. But we're going to grow this. So we're now looking at building a demo plant, which is 240,000 liters. And we hope to have it ready by the end of next year. And then, but to really be cost efficient and competitive with the prices of proteins that we have today from animals, we'll need to go to a real biobrewing. That means that we're going to build a facility that can produce on an annual basis 12,000 tons of protein or alternatives. And that's going to have the scale to be first cost competitive, but above all more sustainable than what we have today. And in the future, we're going to build more and more and more of those. By 2030, we want to produce 60,000 tons. And imagine what's further on in the future we could do. So just want to stay with just this comment. So any company can reimagine what they did. Just look at the possibilities. Just look at your capabilities. So AB InBev, as a beer brewer, we have a heritage of 12,000 years of beer brewing. And we are reimagining what we can do and how we can help to feed the world just by using our knowledge of fermentation at scale, as we are the biggest fermenter in the world. So nobody has so much installed capacity in the world of beer. We're producing 60 billion liters of beer in the world right now, 60 billion liters. So applying that knowledge to solving food problems in the future, that can reimagine what a beer company can do. So the future is already here. It is just not applied yet. And that's the key message I want to give to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. An amazing story. AB InBev, we all know it from the beers, of course, but I think I speak for many of us that we didn't know that you also invest so much time in research and development. Maybe a question for the audience then, at first. Who of you knew AB InBev was doing so much research and development on innovation? Only few people, yeah. That's what I expected, me as well. David, let's maybe sit down for some more questions.
Absolutely.
So as we're here at Future Entrepreneurship, David, how does AB InBev, being such a big company, engage and collaborate with startups and young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, by design, we are actually, when we're doing research and development, we are designed to be open. So we've always been doing open innovation. So we've always been working with universities. We've always been working together with our suppliers to create new innovations. But also we've been working with startups. And we have certain startup networks already in our company, like the 100 Plus Accelerator, which is a startup network that we have created to help startups active in the sustainability field to grow. And they're getting seed funding to grow their business and collaborate with us to scale their products faster. But also on the innovation side, we have our startup network, which is called G-Lab. And so it's connected to GTech, so from GTech it's G-Lab. And those startups in that network are really focusing on solving problems of AB InBev that are in the field of production, but also sustainability, but also can be consumer problems and health, like more innovative problems that we have. And all of those we are uniting together. Moreover, we're also connecting them to partners of us. So if they cannot help us, they can also help our suppliers. So we are actually a matchmaker for startups to help them to get into our ecosystem, to let them know what the problems are that we have and how we can help them to grow.
Yeah, amazing how you use these startups and young entrepreneurs and to actually solve problems. Yeah. And within these startups, are there also beer brewers there?
No, most of the startups that we're working with are really solving a very specific problem. So they're helping us to find a technology to solve something that we need to create a new innovation. So we are being very deliberate on sharing our strategy. We're opening up calls where we say, look, this is what we need, this is what we can't do ourselves. And we're opening up for all the startups that have potentially a solution that can help us to solve a problem and create a new innovation together. And if they help us to solve that problem, we can help them to scale, because with AB InBev, we are a massive company. We have, as I said, we produce 60 billion liters a year. We have a revenue of between 50 and 60 billion dollars. So we can help them to become big and do that in a proper way. So we will guide them. We will bring our expertise to them as well to make sure that the solution they have at small scale become a solution that can thrive at big scale as well.
Yeah, I find it amazing to hear how you, as a big company, use your huge network and resource and everything to then actually help these startups accelerate. Maybe then, David, as a last question, because I see the time is almost up, do you maybe have a general advice for all young entrepreneurs?
Well, first of all, keep dreaming, right? So I've met a lot of entrepreneurs that pitch to us their ideas, their solutions, etc. And if you get a no from a company, don't stop, because there are so many companies out there with problems. You just need to engage. You need to use networks. Make sure that you persist and that you be very resilient in pursuing the dream that you have. But also it's very important as well to listen to the feedback of the companies, and maybe you can tweak a little bit your solution to really fit into their problems, because that's going to create the magic of a collaboration. Because often what I see with startups is they produce a solution and they're looking for a problem. And big companies have often a lot of problems looking for solutions. And if you're really able to connect your solution to the problem of a big company, this can boost the success of your company in no time. So that's really the advice that I would give.
Great advice. Thank you very much, David, for the advice and for the story as well.
Welcome.
I guess you're staying at the bar for another Stella Artois?
For sure.
Tonight.
One more at least.
All right, perfect. Please give a last round of applause then. David Schutter, AB InBev.
Thank you.